So we're basically playing for three of the biggest teams in Scotland, Rangers, Celtic, Glasgow City, in the women's game anyway. I personally do feel that the women's game is quite an inclusive game. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, we all love being around each other, and I think it's a comfortable environment where we can really flourish, and I love that about women's football.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think women's football is a massive facilitator for safety in this community, in this environment, for players, for spectators, for referees, for anyone really that's coming along to watch. The women's game kind of embodies everything that epitomizes what we hope it can be like going forward. Obviously there's still areas where there's a challenge that individuals face, but I think the women's game definitely is in a really good space.
We do know that there's homophobic language in stadiums, unfortunately, at times. But I do feel that we, within the women's game, see a lot of positive examples of how everyone can have a place in football. And to be fair, in the men's game as well, there have been recent examples of players coming out and getting a lot of positive response from it as well. So hopefully that can continue.
I agree. I think that narrative is so important that to emphasize that you've just said, is the number of men that are coming out and are, that's scary. And I think it's also important to reiterate that that's scary still in the women's game. But when I see male players coming out, it's hugely influential, because I know that it's been a space that's so frightening and so scary for them to do so. And that's across other codes as well. We recently had an All Black come out, and I just know, in the rugby community in New Zealand, it's the amount of attention that got and is going to continue to get is huge, especially for the youth.
How was the support at New Zealand when you came out?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of my, Livy's one of my best mates, and she's always, I think it's so important to have someone like her today with me to have this conversation from a New Zealand perspective, because allies are so important. And I think sometimes that's a missed part of the conversation. People from the community, we do so much to speak out and to stand up and to action, but we need allies. It needs to be a combined effort from everyone, and my good friend as well, who plays at Tottenham, Rhea Percival, she was hugely influential. It's just about creating a safe space, and that's what I hope I can do for other people too. Yeah. And what you do as well, offer that support and that you're still loved and just being true to yourself.
Yeah, I think it's important, as especially the younger players come through, it's about creating that safe space and being there maybe if their own families aren't there at the time, and just being there and being someone that they can look up to no matter my own sexuality. It's just making sure that they understand that I'm there for them. Okay, so obviously we've talked a lot about New Zealand, so how has your experience been with the national team for you?
Yeah, so it's been a little while ago since I made my debut for the national team. I was 18, 19 years old, so around 11 years ago. But I do remember that the first question on day one I got asked at the dinner table was whether I liked boys or girls. So it was quite a intimidating question. You just basically had to be put into a certain box. But it wasn't it didn't come from a hostile place. They just wanted to know that it was okay, whatever it was. And I do think 10 years down the line it's a bit more fluid, I guess. But I guess it shows that it's not really a taboo topic.
Yeah.
In the women's game you can ask the question and answer it in whatever way you like. But I do think it's a bit less labeled at the moment. The Netherlands hosted the Euros in 2017, and that was a massive breakthrough for women's football in the country. But if we talk about LGBT plus stuff, there were back then, and there are a couple of girls on the team who are openly out, and I think that helped a lot for the younger generations watching, and like I said, it was a massive breakthrough. All of a sudden, millions of people were watching the games, and the Dutch team won, so that created this massive momentum. And I think people just got used to seeing all different sorts of women, all different looks, different sexualities, and I think that did a lot of good for women's football or football in general, but even for society back home. Yeah. So I really hope that for you guys hosting the World Cup this year, you will have the same sort of positive influence.
Yeah, I really hope we are able to do that. I think it's important for New Zealand. Obviously, rugby is more our main sport, but I really hope that we get involved and everyone really goes in for women's football and we continue the conversation.
Yeah, it ties back to the women's game just being so powerful and, you know, embodying a safe environment to be true to who you are. And you allude to the Euros, and then you can, I touch on the 2019 World Cup. I thought that was another kind of massive step in the right direction. And then you had the Euros hit, like in the UK again, like that side of it for social media kind of perspective is hugely positive and impactful, and the youth are able to, you know, be more exposed to the football in itself, but also, you know, the ongoings off the field. And I think social media from that kind of avenue can be really powerful, and that's kind of where I'm trying to lead with my own personal story and involvement in the community. But yeah, I think from where it's come and where it's going, we're heading in the right direction, and we'll just keep having to have these conversations to, you know, keep the momentum going. But yeah, again, you know, we're three of the top clubs in Scotland. We've come here today to have this conversation because we know it's important, and we know football is a facilitator for change. But at the end of the day, we are footballers, but at the end of the day, we just want to be good people, and hopefully encourage others to just be true to themselves, and yeah, long may that continue.
Do you feel like there's a difference between England and Scotland?
I think from a supporters standpoint, down in Liverpool, it was huge, and I think I really enjoyed taking part in the Rainbows Laces campaign, and I'm excited to see what, you know, Scotland do here. I mean, we're midway through the season, but I think from a supporters standpoint, like the support off the field and during games is a little bit more evident than here. So I don't know if you've seen anything different.
Yeah, so I've played down south myself as well. Like it's difficult because we are in a sort of professional team environment, so I don't really feel like there are too many differences within the team. Yeah. It's always been a bit of a safe space, I think, for every player involved. So I can't say that there are too many differences between Man City and West Ham, where I've played before, and now at Rangers. In terms of society, I do feel the WSL, so the league in England, is probably one of the leading leagues worldwide when it comes to LGBT plus rights as well. So hopefully, Scotland can follow suit and continue to raise awareness and have these types of conversations, just so that every young kid watching feels like they can be part of the game as well, whether it's women's or men's football.
Yeah, well, I hope that it's really progressing, but I think there's still instances where homophobia is on social media or from the stands, and I think, how have you felt if you've dealt with that? How has it been?
I haven't experienced a great deal, but you always do get, you know, the odd kind of DM or comment, and for me, being out for nearly 10 years now, it's I'm at a place where I can deal with it, and it's just sort of a simple delete, kind of move on.
Block report and move on with your life. Yeah.
But there was like a time where it was extremely like scary, and I think that's kind of why I do what I do, and why now that I'm so comfortable, because I know that there are individuals out there who aren't at a place that I'm at and who are still struggling with kind of coming to terms with whatever or wherever they fall, and if they do fall on the spectrum or what have you. And so yeah, I always say to myself, if I can have an impact on at least one individual, then I'm doing something right. So yeah, that's
probably a good message to put out there as well, that it is a bit of a spectrum, isn't it?
It's
whether
huge,
it's your gender identity or your sexuality. Don't feel like you're bound to one certain box or label, but you be you, and be happy with that, and hopefully you get the support you need. And like you mentioned earlier, like hopefully everyone has their own support network in terms of family and friends, but if you don't, then hopefully football can be a bit of a safe space for you to be yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's important for all of us in the football community to, you know, make sure that it continues to be a safe space that everyone feels comfortable in.
Yeah, I think it's just, this is why we have these conversations. It's just trying to, you know, what you alluded to earlier, it's just about being a good person and treating others, cliche, how you would like to be treated, because at the end of the day, we're all human, and why does it matter how you identify? It truly doesn't. It doesn't affect how we play or how I play or how anybody else plays in the footballing context. It really doesn't. And I think kind of a really cool kind of avenue that I'm really trying to educate myself on is pronouns. I think a really easy way to respect someone is to ask if you're unsure how they identify or how they would like to be referred to, and then that is a really easy and simple way to be inclusive, because like you alluded to, the spectrum is so vast, and you could prefer, you know, any kind of fit anywhere along the line, and it's at the end of the day we just want to be inclusive and make sure that everyone feels safe at the end of the day.
And I feel like the reason why that's maybe more important to us than anyone else is that women's football comes from a place where we ourselves, women, have been excluded for the game for decades. It's been banned for a long time in most countries, in the Netherlands, in Scotland, in England, where I've played. So yeah, I think that's why we feel probably even more than others that luckily we're allowed to play now.
Yeah.
Great, you know, better late than never, but that is important for everyone, to have a place in football. Whatever your gender identity or sexuality is. But I think historically, coming from that background, I feel like, we need to make sure that we, going into new decades to come, that we, include as well everyone, basically.
Do you feel more pressure to be a role model?
People have given me so much, and the women's footballing community has given me so much and so much love, and I know that people are not in kind of those spaces to receive that love. And so it comes back to what I said earlier, if I just impact one individual, then I'm doing something right. I don't feel pressured, or I see it as a privilege, honestly. I really do, and that's why I do take part in these conversations, and I am, because I'm so set in myself and how I identify, it's a privilege to stand up and, you know, I'm one of hundreds, thousands people before me within this community that have done the groundwork. I'm still so early in it. Like, those are the people that I the trailblazers, those are the people that I look to. I'm able to stand where I am today and be as vocal and honest as I can be because of them. You know, players for me, Megan Rapinoe, Pernilla Harder, Magdalena Eriksson in the WSL. It's just a little shout out to them because I love them. But you know, Ali Krieger, Ashlyn Harrison, like those players have been massive for me. Even in the Ferns, you know, I felt players on that squad were hugely influential in my coming to terms with my identity. Is there anybody that you guys have seen that, you know, I think helps grow the women's game or the men's game in that aspect.
Well, I do see Megan Rapinoe as as someone as a positive example of like how to use your platform as well, because as sporters, and especially in America with the popularity they have over there, you can have a lot of influence in bringing about positive change, whether it's on the topic of LGBT plus rights or racism or any topic really. So I feel like Megan Rapinoe really has set the bar high for how to use your platform as an athlete. Yeah.
And I think Viv Miedema for you and Beth Mead most recently, and Sam Kerr and Chrissy Mewis, I think they're great advocates for the players to be able to look up to, and really it's about being a good person, a good teammate, and I think that's what we all three of us want to do in our own environments, club and country.